Hello. Are you an aspiring animal communicator who's maybe taken an introductory class or had some beginner's luck on your own? Have you ever wondered what it takes to go from spontaneous or random communication with animals to reliable, on demand communication with animals? Well, I'm Dr. Cara Gubbins, professional animal communicator and creator of the Animal Communicator Academy. And I believe that every animal lover can become an animal communicator. You can do this, and I want to help. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about the 10 tips that I think will help you the most. And these came because my client Wendy told me that for her, animal communication was random, spontaneous. She didn't know when it would happen. It was exciting when it happened, but it wasn't reliable. And until she learned how to put together a few habits that helped her make the leap from occasional to regular, reliable animal communication, that was the case. And these are the top 10 tips that I shared with her to help her really anchor her abilities and go from curious, like, how did that happen, to confident. I can do this. So it worked for Wendy. I hope it works for you. So let's start with number one. Tip number one is to start with your strength. I have a quiz on my website that helps you identify your animal communicator superpower, your natural ability, the easiest way for you to communicate intuitively with animals. It's not always with words. Sometimes it's with emotions. Sometimes it's sensations in our bodies. Sometimes it's images. Sometimes it's direct knowing. But knowing the easiest way for you to get animal communication messages and receive them from animals is the number one place to start. Start with your strength and build from there into the other modalities. So if it's really easy for you to feel something in your body, start there. And then maybe you'll notice that you also get images or hear words. It can show up in a lot of different ways, and it can be different every time, and it can show up a lot of different ways at the same time. But when you know what your strength is and you start from there, it just makes all the rest of it easier. Number two, I know you don't want to hear this, but it's daily meditation. So, number two is daily meditation. And what that does is it helps you quiet your mind so you get used to noticing the very subtle details and messages from intuitive communication. So, intuition can be very subtle, it can fly below the radar. And the practice of meditating quiets our thinking mind, helps us be grounded and centered, and it helps us notice more subtle details. And that's a skill that you need for intuitive animal communication. Number three is practice. Practice, practice, practice. Do it a whole bunch of times. There is no substitute for just racking up a whole bunch of experiences. In science, we call that the sample size, right? Like the number of times that we do something so that we can see the patterns. And that's the same idea here. Your body, your mind, your consciousness all together is going to be learning stuff every time that you practice animal communication. And it's going to be doing it automatically. And so even if you did nothing else but just try it a whole bunch of times, you would automatically be improving. But you need to practice. That's why that's tip number three. Tip number four is understand that you are doing this within a spiritual context. So, one of the key foundational pieces of information, concepts that I teach in my Animal Communicator Academy is the spiritual context. And that looks like an XY axis. With the X line is your goal line. That's the goal that you're achieving. That's what you're working towards in the practical world. That's the number of times you practice animal communication, the number of days that you meditate. All of that is moving you forward on the goal line towards your goal of communicating with animals and being a solid, confident animal communicator. The soul line is the inner work that you need to do along the way. So that's the y axis. So again, if it's an XY axis like this, and the goal line goes this way, the soul line goes this way, your path looks like this. Because as you move towards your goal, you're going to bump up a limiting belief inside of yourself, and you're going to have to heal and update that belief. That's the work on the soul line that moves you upward, and then you can move horizontally towards your goal again. So understanding that as you move towards a goal, you are automatically going to expand your comfort zone. You're going to bump up the edge of your comfort zone, and you're going to have to grow and change on the inside. So you're going to have to become a more confident person, a more outgoing person. I don't know, like there's a whole bunch of ways that it can go. But doing the work on yourself is critical. And that's what I call the soul line work. So having that spiritual context, understanding that you will face obstacles, there will be inner work involved. And that's part of the process and part of the progress of moving forward. That's tip number 4. Number 5 is non-attachment. Animal communicators are here to communicate with animals. We're not here to fix animals. We're not here to fix people. We are here to relay the information and the messages that animals want to share with people. And how they choose to do that, what the person does with that, that's none of our business. We can advise and counsel and refine and be more accurate and more specific with our messages. But really, all we're doing is acting as a go-between to communicate, to facilitate communication between a person and an animal and a person. That's all that we are responsible for, showing up and being the best that we can be at that communication. So non-attachment is critical. Number 6, I love this tip. I talk about this almost every week with my students in the Animal Communicator Academy. Practice. Take notes on your when you practice, take notes. So take notes and reflect on your experience. So that's point number 6, tip number 6. So take notes on the information that you received and what the animal said, what questions you asked. Write it all down, or type it in, or do a voice memo, whatever you like to do. That's half of this tip. The other half of this tip is to reflect on your experience. How did that go? How did it feel for me? What was my challenge? What could I do better next time? What went well? So taking notes helps us to really reflect and really capture as much of the goodness of that animal communication session, not only the messages that we received, but also about our own process and how we work and how we operate. You'll start to notice a lot of really subtle things about yourself, how you hold your body, what your thoughts are, how long it takes you to get into the zone where you're feeling very intuitive. All of that stuff is really going to help you advance and become better and better. Tip number 7, practice in different situations. So in the beginning, it's super important to just get any kind of number of sessions in, as many as you possibly can. But at some point, you'll also want to branch out to different situations, maybe uncomfortable situations. But there's 6 main reasons that people come to animal communicators. Number 1, for behavioral issues. Number 2, for lost pets. Number 3, for aging. Number 4, end of life. Number 5, pet mediumship. Number 6, I don't know, I forgot what number 6 is. I know there's a number 6 in there. It's not physical, but it's something in there. I forget. Oh well, there's 6 of them. Try all of them. You might not want to start. You definitely don't want to start with any of those 6 situations. That you should work up to them for sure. But eventually, once you start to get comfortable with animal communication, challenge yourself to look at behavioral issues, to look at lost pet issues, to look at end of life issues, to look at aging issues, to do some pet mediumship with animals that have passed. All of those situations are the whole gamut of all of life, all of the richness of why we share our lives with animals and all of the challenges that we can face with them. So really trying all of those, not only to get comfortable in all those situations, but also to see what comes up to be healed on the soul line for you. It's going to be different in each of those situations. So you want to definitely heal on the soul line as much as you can to be the clearest channel for that communication between humans and animals that you are the facilitator for. And working in different situations allows you to become a clearer channel, because some of that stuff isn't going to come up unless you're in the lost pet situation. You're not going to heal the stuff inside of you unless you do that. So try to work in a variety of different situations, not only to get experience and expertise in that, but also to help you clear on the soul line anything that is blocking you as a clear channel. Okay, number 8, work with different animals. We've all been told don't talk to strangers when we're kids, but it can be really reassuring to work with animals that you don't know, and to work with a variety of animals so that you get a variety of different experiences. They're unnameable. All the nuances of all the different animals that you can communicate with are so subtle and so varied that as many animals as you can to communicate with and practice with, it's going to improve your animal communication overall. And that goes for between species and within species. So if you are a cat person and you love talking to cats, then talk to a horse or a dog or a goat or a fish, right? Like get that variety, but also within a species, talk to a bunch of different individuals of the same species. And you'll start to see the similarities and differences between the species, but also within the species. And generalization is such a trap. So you want to make sure that you get the wide variety so you really understand the individual variation of how different each individual is and how different each individual situation is. So you don't go on automatic, because that will just block you off from the intuitive communication. Okay, number 9. Tip number 9 is to actually practice with friends. Get a buddy, do some group sessions where you're all communicating with the same animal, and compare notes. What did you get that was the same or different from other people? I did this with my friend Ellery when I was just starting out and practicing before I became a professional. And it was super, super reassuring to me to, we both go and talk to a bat and compare notes. And we would always have more overlap than I ever expected. Or we would talk to a praying mantis that we saw on a walk, and we would get similar messages. Not exactly the same, but very similar themes. And then I started to notice that our differences were kind of following their own themes. Of mine tended to be more spiritual, hers tended to be more practical. So you start to see how other people work, how you work, and that just builds your awareness of how animal communication works and how it works for you. And tip number 10 is to get some help. So there are so many animal communicators all over the world right now. There are so many options for finding teachers online, in person, short term, long term, a short class, a long class, whatever you want to do. There is help out there. And the fastest way to achieve your goal is to get help doing it. So I really encourage you to find a good teacher or find a good study partner, but don't do this on your own. Well, do this on your own if that's how you like to do it, but you don't have to. And getting help can help in so many ways. It can help you overcome the hurdles that we all face when we're learning something new, but especially with intuition in particular. It can help speed up your process. It can be reassuring. It can keep you going when you want to quit. All kinds of things. Help is out there, so definitely get help. And I'm going to share a bonus tip with you, tip number 11. which is an affirmation that I share with my students. And it is a really powerful one. And it goes like this: I am an animal communicator. I talk to animals, and animals talk to me. And in the beginning, remember, an affirmation is a premature statement of the truth. It may not be true yet, but it will. You will grow into that. You will live into that affirmation, and it will help you, give you that confidence to keep going. You can do this. You were born being able to do this. You just need to remember how to do it. I would love to help you become an animal communicator and become a confident animal communicator. And I'll leave links in the comments below um, for ways that I can help you do that, to my quiz, to my Animal Communicator Academy, to my book, The Confident Animal Communicator. There's so many ways that I can help you, and I would love to help you because the world needs more animal communicators. The animals need us so much, and we are all together helping animals and the planet and people and making this world a better place. So I hope you will join us as a confident animal communicator. Keep going, keep practicing. I would love for you to take all of these tips to heart and do all of them, but maybe one of them is really calling to you. Leave a note in the comments below and let me know which tip really resonates with you that you are going to try out and see how it goes. And I got my fingers crossed for you, but you don't need luck, because I know you can do this if you just keep going. All right, have a great day. I will see you next time.